Hello. Just kidding, I wanted to see how awkward I could really make that intro. Today we're going to be swapping out the battery on my 2015 Dyna Street Bob. And if you're new here, we don't do a ton of maintenance videos. We do some light maintenance, oil changes, transmission changes, fluid changes, stuff that the everyday person can do. We don't go too in depth into engine work or anything like that, but if I can do something, you definitely can do it. So if you're here to learn how to do it, that's how we roll on this channel. I show you step by step, easy little maintenance things you can do at home, by yourself, with a buddy. If you've never tackled anything like that, my goal is to make it so after you watch my video on how to do something, you have the confidence to do it. So like I said, today we're going to be swapping out the battery on my 2015 Dyna Street Bob. I have never done it before. It seems pretty easy. I have been to the battery and disconnected it, but I've never actually taken it out. So let's get started. The only tools you're going to need for this video are a 10mm open-end wrench, a Phillips screwdriver, and a 3/16 Allen wrench. The very first thing we're going to do is take the seat bolt out so we can lift the seat off the bike. All you're going to need to do this is a 3/16 Allen wrench. Pull the seat up, pull it back just a little bit, and it pops off. It's just got this little tab here that hooks onto the bike, so you just need to release that. So right under your battery box is going to be a Phillips screw head. That's unfortunate. All right, screws out. Hopefully you won't be holding a camera while you're doing this because the screw fell somewhere down here in the swing arm. So I'm gonna have to find that before we finish. So once you get that out, this has two tabs up here. You're gonna just pull the bottom out, kind of loosen it, and then lift it up to remove the cover. And there is your battery. This is a plastic top, so you don't really have to worry about taking one or the other off first in order to be careful of shorting things out. That being said, I'm going to take the negative terminal off first. All this is the lead for that goes over here. See if I can dig it out. It's a lead for my battery tender. And if you're super new at this, just remember red is positive, black is negative on DC. So you're gonna want to put this back on, if your bike has this, back on the red. Those are now separated. So we'll pull this strap. It's just a rubber strap. Push it towards the back and it'll unhook. And the battery should slide right out. Easy as that. I don't know how old this battery is. It came with the bike when I bought it in 2019. It is dead now, and I'm guessing whoever owned the bike before didn't ride it very much because it is a pretty clean bike. So if you don't ride your bike at least once a month over the winter time, or try to get it out, just ride it down the street if you can. I've found that the battery tender may not save your battery. When you actually ride the bike and it actually gets that discharge and the recharge, it just seems to last longer. My touring bike battery lasted 8 years. I rode it every month and it lasted a long time. And if any of you guys have seen my battery change video on my touring bike, you'll know that I put in a lithium battery on that bike. I've only had that battery for 2 years. It seemed like it got a little weak on me this year, winter of 2020 to 2021. We took that trip to Arkansas back in April, and it seems to be fine ever since then. For this bike, I'm just rolling with the regular old battery. I didn't get a lithium. The cost is much better. It is a Harley battery because if any of you guys have been following me for a while, you'll know that my dad and I got stranded on the side of the road because he had an aftermarket battery in his Dyna, and the cells broke free in the battery and shorted out. Luckily, it didn't start a fire or anything like that, but it did stall his bike and left us out in BFE in Oklahoma for quite a while. It took us a little while to figure out what exactly was going on because the bike was cutting in and out. It would go a couple miles and then it would die. And until we finally dug out the battery, got to the battery and started tapping on it, that's what told us, hey, the battery cells are messed up. If any of you want to argue about which battery you can put in your Harley, be my guest. Keep it cordial, but from this point forward, I always stick with Harley batteries. You're gonna pay a little more usually for them, but they've never left me on the side of the road. Harley does send instructions with their battery. If that's your thing, you don't really need to look at them if you don't want to. There are some good tips for beginners in there, reminding you not to over tighten the bolts, things like that. You might want to review it if you're new. It's not gonna hurt anything. Harley sends the bolts right here on this little plastic clip. Just pop that off. That's both your new bolts. The other thing you're going to want to check is your cables on your bike. If there's a lot of corrosion on them, you're probably going to want to clean that stuff off. Take some emery cloth or some sandpaper, clean them up really good. If it's continual, you can use like a dielectric grease or something on it, or they make the battery terminal spray. I have used that stuff before, not on motorcycles, but on cars, and it seems to keep the corrosion down. I've never had a problem on a bike, so I'm probably just gonna put them on dry and I'll monitor it. We'll see what happens. Okay, so as you can see, our cables look good. Both of them are clean. The battery is marked positive, negative. Remember, positive goes to red. Make sure you get the cables, you don't pinch the cables in behind the battery. My neighbor decided to mow his yard, so sorry about that if you can hear it. I'll go ahead and put the strap on. And you just stretch it over, just hook it around that. And that just holds the battery in place. Get out your new battery bolts. They just pull out of the deal. You're always going to want to put this connection on first, so it has the closest connection to the battery, and then you'll want to put your tender lead on. Just make sure you hand thread these in first, because this is lead and it will strip out on you if you cross thread it. It's not going to be good. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one down. Now remember, you don't want to get these too tight, because it can strip them out really easy. So just kind of snug it up a little bit. Make sure you got a good tight connection, nothing's moving, and you're good to go. Same thing. I should also mention, when you're tightening the positive cable, do not touch metal with the wrench while it's on the positive cable, especially if your negative is hooked up. That's why I always put the positive on first, because that way it doesn't have a completed circuit with the battery. If you put the negative on first, you're going to have a ground, and then if you're tightening the positive up and you touch the engine or something with your wrench that's metal, it's going to cause a direct short there and it's going to spark, and you're probably going to pee your pants a little bit. And that's it, guys. I'm going to kick the power on. We'll make sure the light's turned on. I heard the fuel pump kick on, and that is way more than it was doing before. Super quick video. That whole project would take you about 5 to 10 minutes if you weren't filming it. It only took me 15 to 20 moving the camera around to do that out. And obviously I still have to put the seat back on and the battery cover back on, but I gotta find that screw. Let me know down in the comments what battery you use, or if you have any tips for me or anyone else watching this video. We always appreciate other people's tips. That being said, I hope I see you guys on the road, and we'll definitely see you in the next video.